Great stuff. Now, next up, we have our final panel for the morning. We have buying on rewarded platforms, the benefits and the challenges. And we've got Monika from KashKick. We've got Matej from Pixel Federation. We've got Leyla from Rovio and Paul from 52 Entertainment. So I'm going to ask the guys to come on up. Over to you guys.
Thank you for having us. Let us just squeeze here. Thank you for joining us today. I have this awesome trio with me, and what we want to do is basically open up a conversation. So we've heard about rewarded, a lot in this conference, and instead of just saying how rewarded is the best and all the benefits and why you should be with rewarded, we want to open up a conversation about. Thank you. The benefits, the challenges, basically some best practices, how to start with rewarded. So I have Leyla here with me from Rovio. She has a very cool corgi dog who doesn't really know how to play fetch, if I'm right. I have Paul from 52 Entertainment.
Hello.
Coming from Colibri, right? Previously from Colibri Games.
Previously from Colibri, yes.
And I have Matej here from Pixel Federation. We went karaoke yesterday, so I hope your voice is back.
Oh, no, it's not. But
Nice. So I want to start by asking you, what's your favorite travel destination and why, just to break the ice? Leyla?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a blasphemy to tell it in Finland, but actually I really lately like Sweden. So yeah, why? It's because it combines really cozy chill vibes of Helsinki, but also a little bit more variety in terms of shops and cultural attractions.
Nice. Matej?
Oh, me, I have to say Dublin now.
Dublin?
Only though I discovered 2 weeks ago, but I'd love to go again.
Right?
Yeah.
Google, yeah.
I'd love to go.
Paul?
So you stole my response. I wanted to say Finland, obviously, but now I'm going to say Italy because of the food and the good wine.
Nice. You're from Paris, right? So you could always say France, right? France is also nice.
Yes, but I live there, so I won't say it's my favorite travel place.
All right, so now we're going to go back to the rewarded, the topic. So we want to start with maybe telling what's your experience with rewarded, how have you been working, how long have you been working with rewarded, so the audience can understand a little bit more. So Paul, how long is your experience?
Sure. So we saw the rewarded UA channels booming in the last year and a half, especially in 2023. And we saw the rev share growing from 10%, 30%, 40%, and in some cases even 50% and higher. And so now we have to manage that channel and making sure that we are optimizing that particular channel with those particular parameters properly.
Perfect. Matej?
If I'm not mistaken, the first time we tried was PGC London last year. So there. It was the most random conversation that I had over a dinner. And the guy was from a rewarded play platform, introduced it to me. I was like, I'm surprised we're not doing this already. And ever since then, we've been testing many other networks. It's been part of the marketing mix for us ever since then. Yeah.
Nice. Leyla?
Yeah, I'm going to represent NUB in the rewarded world because we had number of good and bad experiences, but minor within the last year. And on the higher scale, we started to search for our way to rewarded platforms maybe a month and a half ago. So I kind of here to tell a little bit about growth, penetration struggles with rewarded networks.
Yeah, so for some games, especially your Rovio games are a little bit older, so it might be difficult, to re-engage that user. So what was the reason that you chose, to test rewarded? Because I know you haven't been using them. What changed your mind?
Yeah, there was a number of internal changes. There was a number of industrial changes. I would say that on the internal scale is that we are looking for diversification of our channels. We know that the industry changing a lot, and we need to be adaptive to the changes. So meaning testing more, meaning search for the new approaches. And with rewarded market booming, it would was like a natural decision in a way, but also rewarded networks changed a lot. Like we came from all the way from like a standard kind of traditional offer walls to marketplaces with like real cash rewards, which is like very natural motivation for people to play. So I think it's a little bit more reliable on the advertiser, from the advertiser's point at the state where it is now.
Got it. Paul, is Rewarded working with, for 52 Entertainment? Why have you chosen to work with Rewarded?
So obviously now you need to work with rewarded UA channels. This is you can't miss it. The share of voice is growing slowly. You need to play with the fragmented ecosystem that the rewarded UA channel is currently, and making sure you have enough maturity in terms of data to take the proper decision. We need to have the first thinking principle, understand how users come into our game through rewarded channels, and making sure you understand that they are incentivized, and so they have a specific behavior within the game. And so we are growing into understanding the different behavior on the different games and adjusting the targets according to this.
100%. Can you share like any specific maybe metrics, or examples that can address some of the success that you had with Rewarded, like basically what KPIs we should set?
Sure. So obviously, as all UA managers, you set the return ad spend targets. You need to make sure you understand your LTV curve, because that's going to be different than with other type of UA channels.
Yeah.
So you want to have maybe a first test, understanding when it flattens, and set your target accordingly in terms of return ad spend, the X, depending on the UA channel you are working with.
I know, Leyla, you can't really share like metrics. Can you share like how Rewarded is working specifically for your games, maybe?
I mean, we're still figuring the key metrics that we are going to look into. I think what is the most important for us is that, like, according to our previous experience, we know that, the lifetime of rewarded users in the game, like, it's drastically different from the other platforms we are working with. So for us, we are trying to spot all the foreshadowing of future behavior, how long the user is going to stay with us, how what is going to be our window for monetization of these users, because most likely it's always a possibility that we lose them after they hit the final event. And also, what are the events that we can implement in order to make them retain longer. I think at this point, at the very beginning, our key success with Rewarded Network is better understanding of our own product and our own game, and a better better interaction with our game team, I would say.
Okay, so you mentioned that you sync with product team, development team, right? So it's you mentioned that you have to have collaboration between those departments, right? To make sure that everything is working.
This is our generally the position of the Rovio. We all need to communicate really good, but I would say that with Rewarded Network in particular, it's one of the key things. You cannot separate product from acquisition anymore.
Okay. Yeah. Matej, how do you measure the effectiveness of Rewarded Pixel Fed?
Well, we always kind of take a look at the retention, but we, in a bad way, we kind of know what to expect retention-wise. So we are always measuring the KPIs in terms of ROI and that kind of stuff. And we are. I'm gonna say we are not doing it properly in terms of. Paul mentioned a great thing the other day. We should configure our game in a way to prepare you for the rewarded platform in general, and just make sure we are monetizing the users up until the last event they are able to cash out on. And we are not doing it. So that was a great inspiration for us. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's
Yeah.
nice. So, well, like with Rewarded, particularly with KashKick, like with us, is that the more events you can share with us, the better we can create the reward structure and understand the user journey. Is that something that you currently are working on, like implementing those events, or?
Well, we are always, trying to rework the whole user journey. Like the first couple of, I don't want to even say minutes, more like hours. Like it's been constantly worked on. Not necessarily tied to like a rewarded play. Like I don't think the game designers are actually keeping this in mind, but they should, because it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely relevant, and definitely it's going to be a part of a mix for a long time. So it will be a nice hindsight for them to keep that in mind. Like we might be monetizing the users in a certain way, in a particular way, and adjust it.
Of course. There's also a difference between, games who are more IAA than IEP focused. I guess, with the IEP, it's like, of course, events and tracking levels and tracking progression. With IAA, it's mostly the time when, so I guess that's the differentiation. How do you balance, Rewarded in your overall UA mix, Paul? Like, how do you make sure that everything is working?
So
Do you have like different teams maybe, or like specifically for, different types of network?
yeah, sure. So the way we are operating usually is basically no budget, spend as much as possible, as long as you are on target. So this is how user acquisition managers work. So we don't try to control the share of voice based on this UA channel or this other UA channel. So it's basically based on results and then generate as much predictive revenue as possible. So this is how we work. The challenge here, when you have a predictive revenue or predictive return ad spend approach, is to make sure you have the right prediction for those specific channels. And once again, like you mentioned, the science of selecting the right event, I think this is key here. So you need, before starting the campaign, understand the average LTV on user reaching that specific event, and then selecting it with the UA channel that enable you to do so. And then making sure that it is actually happening. The LTV is actually generating at that level for that specific event, because sometimes users can find shortcuts and stuff. So
That's true. Like I think for us, it helps. We always ask, for time to event, how long usually it takes for your users to complete that event, and conversion rates for specific actions, right? So do you track that information, with Rovio?
Yes, we do. We are, in particular, as referring to my previous answer, like we take into account, because, like as I mentioned, there is always, with the rewarded networks, there is always this issue of potential loss of the users when they're reaching the final event. So like you need to have this in mind, that basically like your profitability horizon each month is much lower compared to what you naturally have in another networks. But getting back to your question about the healthy mixture, I wouldn't say that at this point it's something that is that critical for us, because like we still do not have enough scale on the rewarded side. But once we hopefully here, like I would say that rewarded networks have by nature like generates like faster cash flow, which like potentially can allow us, as we can see it, to make more risky experiments on another channel and potentially improve them as well.
Sure. And do you think like there are any particular genres, maybe game types, that work better for rewarded, or do you think that all of the games are meant for rewarded if they're optimized? Like, Matej, what are your thoughts?
I'd say it doesn't matter the game, it's just the matter of the events. Like basically you can just, if you're setting up the events right, I wouldn't say there's like a preferred genre, to be honest. I think it's like a really fit for anything.
Cool. Paul?
I think all the segments are benefiting from that new UA channel. So I believe it's applicable for all type of games.
Even like the old ones the old titles with Rovio. What's your thoughts on that, Leyla?
I think so. Like I however, think that more casual games might benefit better because they're appealing to a wider audience that like can be interested in rewards a little bit more than in the gaming process.
That's true. Also, I think it depends per rewarded platform, what kind of users they attract. So I guess you also need to check before what type of traffic they get. So I guess it's all about the trust and all about the transparency when you talk with rewarded. So, okay, we're talking about some of the good stuff, the positive, but we're not here only to glamorize rewarded. We want to also talk about, address some challenges and how to mitigate them. So from my experience, on the other side, working in rewarded, so I had this 1 year, 2 years ago, it was sort of a trust issue that people were not so sure about rewarded. It wasn't something normal for them, right? It was something new, like giving money, giving rewards for playing. Like what? That's fake or something, So that's from my experience on my end. So did you have that, when you first came to rewarded and were just a little bit skeptical, or Matej, how was your experience?
I couldn't believe it. It actually works, to be honest, myself. And whenever the initial conversation that we had, I was the influence mobile company, and they mentioned they were giving out a gift card, like a cash gift card. Yeah. I was pretty amazed. They are actually able to pay the users out. So I was a bit skeptical, because it seems like a scam, to be honest. Yeah. When you're giving out gift cards, I was like, I don't know, we'll see. But it was alright. It was legit. So I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest.
Leyla, what about you?
I mean, rewarded networks back from the days when I just joined UA, they are a little bit notorious. They used to be a little bit notorious because you always have this association about okay, this is pouring the traffic on the keywords to boost your ranking in App Store. And remember, we were discussing, particularly in Nordic market, and why rewarded networks are not that popular in the Nordic markets. And being a part of Rovio for a while now, I can see that for Nordic companies, it is very important to be very transparent and very honest with our customers. So bringing this notoriety to the customers, I think it is considered by many, it's a little bit it's not the move that we would like to do. But again, we already discussed that everything changed since then. The rewards have changed, the approach have changed. The tracking have changed, so the stores have changed, so you cannot pour traffic anymore. But this is I think we are in the point of big reconsideration about what the rewarded networks are at this point.
Sure, Paul. What was your experience before?
So incentive traffic has bad press. We remember 10 years ago where you could buy the first spots on the iOS Store or Google Play Store. Basically, that was fraud back then. And so when they arrived 2 years ago, basically we were like, okay, this is on again, another fraudulent UA channels. The impact will be very short term. You try it because you heard about some of your friends in the industry having success with it, so you try it. You see very different LTV curves, very different user behaviors. You're like, yes, that is fraud. And then user actually generates money. The users actually watch ads, buy APs, and so you're like, okay, this is just the way they are incentivized is different. So understand that and scale it, and you generate revenue. And so you're like, okay, whatever it is, we make profit with it. Whatever it is, we generate traffic that is engaging with the game. So we keep on going.
Do you see maybe any other issues? Because we were talking about the LTV curve, right? That it flattens a little bit. So do you have any specific maybe metrics or things that you do internally to assess that?
So when using rewarded traffic, basically we were seeing that right after the event you selected, people drop off. So you need to understand that. So you need to make sure that by that time, you monetize them enough, or at least higher than the CPI versus LTV logic, of course. Then you need to make sure that the event you selected is cheater-proof. We had the issue where we selected an event that users could easily fraud, and so basically we lost that traffic totally. And so once again, select the event and then monitor it to make sure that users don't find a shortcut and can't time cheat or whatever.
Yeah. Do you see any other potential challenges that we can address, and help people mitigate them? Matej, have you seen anything with your games?
Well, just the retention issue for us, to be honest. Yeah, that is but having that insight, people should keep that in mind. It's just, this is how it works, and it's just gonna go to, well, for us, it's pretty much drop in after you collected the last event, and we should optimize properly for that particular network, and this is it.
How long do you track events? What's the latest event that you track for your game?
I'd love to say that I know, but I don't. I thought there was a proposition by a different company, and they suggested to do a super high reward, but let's put it down 180 days, so a half a year away, just to make sure people actually won't reach it, so the payout won't actually happen. But it's super, super motivational. But I don't know. Seems kind of.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of.
You need to try different ones. You need to try different ones. Yeah. One short term, one mid term, one long term. Optimized based on this. Yeah. But I heard about this trick as well. That basically you set you set an event that they can't reach, and so you are not paying the event while generating revenue still.
Yeah. I guess with the rise of rewarded, there's so many rewarded platforms coming to play. So I think it will be about the quality and retention. So I think the new advancement would be what rewarded platforms will do actually to make sure that the curve doesn't flatten. That's something that we do, our marketing team at KashKick actually. Yeah, they're working currently very, very hard with our advertisers to address that. So I think that will be one of the future optimization. So I want to go to the future now and basically think about over the next 12 months. What do you think will happen in the rewarded marketing in terms of the growth of your games and your user acquisition strategies? Matej, you go?
I don't think so far we tested a lot of the rewarded play networks. It came to a point where we were deciding whether we should keep it in the mix or not, because the performance was okay-ish. But I'm gonna say there's work to be done on our end to make sure that we are doing the events properly and optimizing properly. And in case we are able to fix it, then why not? I think we should keep the marketing mix fresh in these terms. Yeah. So we're not gonna stop using it unless it turns to be completely hurtful for us, which it's still fixable by us.
Yeah. Leyla, how do you feel?
I think as we are in the very beginning of our journey with rewarded traffic, it's going to be a lot of work for us. First of all, we have a long list of partners to onboard. Second of all, we need to again look at our game with a new vision, with a new perception of the goals we would like to reach, and figure out what's going to be the events that work for us, what is going to be personalization for users that are coming from rewarded traffic specifically. How do we approach them? Because they are the different users than we see from non-rewarded networks. I probably told you when we were discussing partnership that our first steps in rewarded, we set up an event that typically takes 60 days for our users to non-rewarded users to reach, And people from rewarded networks were doing it like for 10 days.
Yeah, they're
So,
pretty quick.
Yeah, so it completely changes our perception of user journey, right? So I think very important part for us is to clearly communicate it to the game team, to set the expectation, to understand what's going to be a place of rewarded traffic and how many efforts we need to invest in order to make it work for us.
Paul, how do you feel about 12 months in the future?
So 12 months and onward, I feel like the landscape is currently very fragmented, so I expect it to consolidate a little bit more. I expect indeed the providers to not, I wouldn't say fix, but like improve that retention issue.
Yep.
To make sure like we have a retention curve / LTV curve that is closer to other networks. On the publisher side, I expect us and them to better optimize this channel through segmentation, having a dedicated user experience based on the channel, on the rewarded channel. This is what we talked about with Matej, to increase the monetization on a specific event. So that's it. Then, yes, on the market to, because using rewarded channels make you work with the product team. As a UA manager, you have to work closely with the product team because first you need to warn him and warn them that the retention will take a hit with that new UA channel. So you need to have a close relationship with them so they don't freak out on their side because the game has a minus 10% decrease on the retention day one. So first this, and then once again, potentially having dedicated segmentation. So thanks to the rewarded channels, it helps to improve the relationship between UA and product. So I believe in the future that will go into that direction.
That's interesting. And do you see like any other trends and innovations in the mobile industry in general? We can reward it, or in general, what do you think will happen, Paul?
On my side, so I believe that rewarded aspect is a new user behavior. Now user can expect to be rewarded by doing some specific actions. So I believe that might be also embedded into the games. So we see that with offer walls, but even as a publisher, you might think about integrating some rewarded systems into your game or into your web app or whatever to foster engagement, foster cross-promotion. So I believe that concept might be fully embedded within the publisher teams.
Oh, that's interesting. Matej, what's your take on that?
I'm gonna say like AI is gonna take over.
Take over.
Us, and even more. And there's gonna be a lot of more networks that are utilizing AI properly coming up. And my wishful thinking is that they just gonna polish it in the future. So it's gonna be more usable for us, and it's gonna make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll see.
We'll
I guess.
see. Leyla, what trends do you see?
Something that I'm observing is communication and engagement between user acquisition and traditional forms of marketing is getting more and more popular to have this mixed campaign and tap the toes into world of traditional marketing for user acquisition managers as well. So I think this would be the one potential change, like bringing more non-traditional user acquisition channels, probably like, I don't know, probably like something like Netflix, Amazon ads as well. But yeah.
We'll see. And to finish off, what will be something that you can give, like an advice to a user acquisition marketing manager who's interested in trying rewarded, like the first steps, you know, how to mitigate some potential challenges? Paul, what would you say?
Yes, sure. So first, go ahead, test it, monitor the return ad spend, monitor the user behavior, adjust accordingly, and that's it.
Yep.
I'd say be prepared for the fact like the retention is not going to be there, but just keep that in mind so your other metrics won't get influenced by this, so you won't get that much noise. And keep that in mind all the time and make sure you are monetizing them very well, just to make sure like you actually make money out of it. So there's a lot of work to be done on the game or on the product side.
Yep. Leyla?
Be besties with your game team if you are not yet. It's very important to adjust your game for any type of non-traditional user acquisition.
Yep, perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. That was very much insightful. I guess we're 10 minutes before our time, but do we have any questions, maybe?
That's a good idea. Let's find out. Do we have any questions, guys? Do you have any questions for the panel?
No?
So I think I'll try. So one of the comments you made was about kind of like when you're using rewarded mechanisms about retention. Do you think there are any techniques that we can use to think about the kind of flow of the player experience, about when we prompt those kind of rewarded experiences to mitigate against that kind of issue in terms of keeping that player? Because my view is rewarded has a place. It's understanding the audience and then their reason to come back and how you connect the dots. Am I wrong? Or are there better techniques to doing it? Are there good techniques to do it?
Yeah, so like from our side, from rewarded platform, so we have like a marketing team who actually is dealing with exactly that, just addressing the retention and the curve flattening. So we do have all of the cool things that are happening into play. We're working directly with game publishers to create like retention campaigns, to actually re-engage users. So I would say first thing is to be very close with the game publishers, to work together to understand how we can make this better for that specific game, because every game is unique.
Well, I think it's also about being aware of the user life cycle. So actually thinking as a game designer in the game itself, I think there's only so much you can do from a platform point of view.
Yes, that's true.
You've got to, to your point, you've got to have that close connection between how the platform's utilised and how the game is designed.
100%.
And knowing that flow. Sorry, I'm going off and
yeah.
answering my own question now. Sorry.
I think this is one of the reasons why you need to work closely with the product to understand at which point you need to put the events, and at that point maybe you hooked the player because they had the full experience of the game. So yeah, totally. So that's why working with the product team is key in maximizing the impact of the rewarded platforms.
And it's why, hopefully I didn't come across too mean to the Treasure Play guys. It's why I was kind of referring when they were talking about this connection between what you're offering in terms of the reason to come back and what's in the game, and how you blur the line between in-game experiences and those external rewards. And that's a challenge, but I think it's an interesting one to try.
And as a publisher, tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't have much leverage on what we offer and what is the reward. So this is one thing potentially not necessary to be improved, but be aware of that you don't have impact on this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is it's one of the challenges of that kind of model. But again, bear in mind I'm coming from a legacy of being there at the early days of rewarded video ads, where it was all about the in-game offer as opposed to the external offer. So I know I'm showing my biases here. So
No, but that's why embedding that rewarded system within the publisher ecosystem might be one of the solutions of what you mentioned.
Yeah, great. That makes sense. Does anyone else have any thoughts or comments? In that case, I think we're going to find a way to break for lunch. So thank you very much to the panel, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.